Hi everybody, Patrick here, and this video is one of my extended research that I did after leaving Sumpter. And as you saw in last season, we left there again with some unanswered questions. And me personally, I left with this odd feeling of heaviness. It was like a weight on my shoulders, and it's really hard to really put into words what the feeling was. But it was just a sense that we left without answering some very important questions. We did uncover a lot of a mystery that had been hidden for 100 years, and that mystery was of the Chinese miners, and that's why I believe that heaviness was. We got very close to their story, to their plight, to their suffering and their hard work, and it was very emotional when we were doing these investigations. I think you saw it on the show, but it went deeper than that. It was very personal to Kristen and myself, getting involved with this history and learning about just the way these families left their homes in China, came to America with this dream, and just worked so hard to provide for their families back in China. And when they died here, they just weren't given that respect of all the hard work they did, and some of them weren't able to go back home. Their bodies were left here, and as you saw in the show, that's not to their beliefs. They need to go back home, or they'd be in unrest. So after all this research that we did in Sumpter, and then just me re-watching our investigations on the show and going through the photographs that Chris and I took and the videos, and re-listening to EVPs that we heard, I started to get the feeling that this heaviness that I was feeling was because I needed closure. And it was kind of a mixture, a closure for myself and a closure for the miners that I believe that we encountered at these different locations, the Crescent Mine, the cemetery, the Chinese Walls, the McEwen Massacre site, and obviously Hell's Canyon. So when I discovered that this heaviness I was feeling was coming from this need to find answers for not only myself but for those Chinese miners, I decided that I had to go to China. And it was like no questions about it. As soon as the idea hit me, I just bought the ticket, and there was no thought about it. It's just I had to go there. I had to see where this story started. Yes, we learned a lot in Sumpter and in Baker County, but there was all these pieces missing in the puzzle, and the only way to fill in the gaps for me was, again, to go where these Chinese miners started their quest. So that's what I did. I went to China, and my first stop was Hong Kong. I love big cities, and Hong Kong is just that. It's a perfect blend of a modern city and old world culture. There's neon, crowds, haggling street vendors, and awesome street food. Here's a perfect blend of the two. The scaffolding of this new high-rise is constructed of bamboo poles and plastic straps, and all of that is securely supported on the sidewalk. One thing you'll need to get used to while traveling in China are the public facilities. These are them. This is your bathroom, your toilet, and sink in many places in Kowloon's side of Victoria Harbor. But if you think of it as part of the adventure, you should be fine. After lunch, I jumped on a boat from Hong Kong and traveled for an hour to the small island of Shengqiao. This is a weekend getaway island for the hardworking people of Kowloon and Hong Kong, with salty fish and squid snacks drying in the sun, and where the only way to get around is by bike or to walk. I traveled to this island because I was told I'd find something here that we also found in Baker County and at the Crescent site. I followed the path through the island's bamboo forest and spotted some Chinese characters that had been carved in some of the stalks. I asked some people what they meant, but no one was able to translate them for me. Either they were in some kind of slang or just the writing was too sloppy. After about a mile, I came across a temple. At this temple, I found what I was looking for, a burn house. First a small one beside a prayer area, and then this one looking over the water. Beside it was a second. It was a different style, but both were the same size. These burn houses confirmed to me that the remnants of the stone structure that Chris and I found in the woods outside the Crescent was indeed a burn house.
It was the same width and length as these on Shengshao. And if there was a burn house at the mine site, it could also mean that there was an area where the Chinese miners buried their dead in preparation for travel back to their villages back in China. After this eye-opening discovery, I decided to continue down the trail along the water's edge. One, because it was a beautiful sight, and two, because I read on a signpost that this was the way to the Shengpo Sai cave. And if there's a cave, a tunnel underground, I'm going in. I followed the trail under rocks, through rocks, and over rocks until I found this single, weather-beaten character drawn on a sandstone boulder. It simply translates to cave, and if you follow the arrow with your eyes, you see this ladder. And at the bottom of the ladder, an incredible underground treasure, literally. This cave system was once where the Chinese pirate Shengpo Sai hid his stolen treasure. And I had looked, but not even a single red ruby was left behind for me to find. But the exploration was amazing, and it felt good to be just underground, crawling through the tight spaces and almost getting wedged into these narrow drifts. When I finally exited out the other side, the sun was setting, so I returned to the boat and headed back to Hong Kong for some dinner and sleep. I started the morning suffering from a bit of jet lag, with a visit to a temple where I could observe prayer ceremonies and further my education on their religious beliefs when it came to life and death. After burning some incense and doing my very best not to offend anyone, I left to catch my train to the border of mainland China. When I arrived, I was met by the driver who was going to take me to my final destination, deep inside China, to an area that has no hotels, no souvenir kiosks, no fast food chains, no tour buses or sightseeing markers. All the signs are in Chinese only, and many of the people who stay here all year round only see non-Asian people on TV and in newspapers. So me being a 6'1" white guy with red hair and blue eyes, let's just say there was no way for me to blend into the background. As we drove, I noticed that the hills on either side of the road were dotted with these tiny white temples. In the course of an hour, I must have spotted nearly 300 of these individual burial and prayer sites, and they looked very similar to the one that I found on Shengshao Island. There are no graveyards. The dead are buried at their home, buried so their souls will be at rest, which we learned in Sumpter. After 3 hours on the road, we arrived at our first stop, a temple that you won't find on the internet or on any map. It was constructed for the deceased of a single family and is only visited by the family members once a year. Since I was traveling with 4 of those family members, I was given access to roam freely around and in the temple. Having learned a lot about Chinese culture during our research in Sumpter, I noticed a few details that confirmed our findings. The paths through the gardens around the temple, paths only walked by the living, were very curvy and with many intersections, while inside the temple, where the spirits roamed, every walkway was straight and ended at a right angle, and the roofs over the walkways in the temple were curved, like on many Chinese buildings. They're curved so that if evil spirits were to come down, they would be deflected off the roof, protecting the good spirits within the temple. I spent the night in a room just outside the temple, and just in case I forgot, I was reminded that I was far from home by the television remote, a far fancier toilet than before, and the presence of nothing but frozen fish heads in my fridge. But at least the bed was comfortable, and after a good night's sleep, I woke up and we traveled deeper into China to a small village cut off from the modern world. As I waited for my host to arrive, I attempted to play this instrument, and just be happy there's no audio, because this was just horrid. And if you notice my sleeves, I have them rolled down to cover my tattoos. In this culture, tattoos are looked down upon because only criminals and gang members have them. So in respect for the family and locals, I kept them covered. Here I met the man I came all this way to see, Mr. Lamb. During lunch, Mr. Lamb told me, through a translator, that members of his family went to America during the gold rush and never returned home. His family doesn't know if they died while mining or simply started a new life there. But he did believe that since they died in a foreign land, and they were not returned to the village for a proper burial, that their souls cannot be at rest now. And as a very special and humbling gesture, he told me that he had arranged for me to attend a traditional Chinese funeral, one that is very similar to the burials that would have taken place when the bones of a miner back in the day returned home from America. Here you can see a burn house in a grove of lychee trees, and in this photo, after the ceremony, you can still see the smoke rising from the one that we used to burn prayers and offerings.
I don't have any photographs or videos to show you of the ceremony itself, because in respect for the family and for the culture, I put my camera away. Plus I was there to experience it there, and to basically, I didn't want to, well, taking photographs would have gotten in the way. I wanted to live that experience, and it was very emotional and very touching, and I can't thank the family enough for inviting me. I was able to bring home some of the prayer papers that we burned in the burn house, and you would write messages on these and place them in the burn house, and hopefully those would go with the spirit. The family also gave me this gold, it's like a stamped gold medallion here, and this is to protect me if we were ever to go back into the mine and encounter an evil spirit. It's a great offering, and I will wear that if we ever go back into the mine. And then finally they gave me to take home this gorgeous leather and wood box, and this box held some incense that we burned in the burn house, and it's still has this great sandalwood smell to it, and this was full of incense that we took down to that burn house and we burned during the ceremony. So I have all these great memories here, and these are worth to me more than photographs. So sorry I can't show you that, but it did, just seeing that ceremony not only validated what we found in Sumpter with the burn houses, but it brought it all together. It helped me understand the process, just the ceremony, and I thank that family from the bottom of my heart, and it's going to live with me forever. So that was my search, my quest, my trip to find answers, and I believe I found a lot, and I hope that this video helps you understand what we found in Sumpter, and to hopefully find and hopefully solve some of the, maybe answer some of the questions that you had after watching the show. For me it did, and if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment and I'll try to answer them when I can. But this trip did validate a lot of the stuff that we found. There's all these traditions that basically they brought over to America and we saw in Sumpter. It was a great trip, and I came back and that heaviness was gone. It was odd. I'll share this one thing with you. If you remember, when I was in Hell's Canyon, I had that I don't know, just that whatever, that coughing fit, that sickness that kind of overcame me just right away. And no lie, no joke, the last night I was in Hong Kong, I woke up, I think at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I had again a major coughing fit. Wasn't sick, wasn't food poisoning, wasn't anything. It's just like this, it just hit me right away. It was just like this hacking cough, and it lasted for, I don't know, about 15 minutes, and that was it. It was gone. But the next morning when I woke up, felt fine, got on the plane, and when I'm on the plane, that heaviness was gone. It was completely gone. And I don't know if the coughing fit was a psychological thing, where it was just my body telling me, okay, you're done, you figured it out, or was it something else? Was it the spirit saying thank you? I don't know. Maybe I brought something back to China with me, that something tagged along and I brought them home, or I can't answer that right now. It's a tough, it was a very spiritual trip, I'll say that. It was very spiritual, very emotional, and I don't regret it for a moment. And it's going to stay with me forever, and I'm happy I got to share it with you, and I hope you learned something, and that's all I have for you today. But this video is not the last you're going to see of me, because if you know me, I've been pursuing the paranormal since I was 7 years old, And I've dedicated most of my life to researching and advancing the field as much as I possibly can. And good news, I'm actually working on a new book right now, and it is one that I'm addressing a lot of theories and a lot of new techniques, and basically taking what I've learned from investigating in this new environment of the mind and hopefully introducing some new thoughts and some new ideas. So I'm in the process of outlining that book right now, and I will be doing a lot of paranormal events. I will be doing some speaking at these events, and the speaking that I'm going to be doing will be taken from the book that I'm writing. So if you're following me on Twitter, following me on Facebook, I hope you continue to do so, because even though I'm not on television right now, I'm still out here, I'm still working, I'm still pursuing this my passion, and I hope to see you out wherever I go. So I never say goodbye. I always say see you later. So if it's not there on the television, it's in your neighborhood or in my neighborhood or wherever we may meet. So see you later.